Okay, welcome to tutorial number 2. And I just want to start this by giving you some examples of how the track can get laid out using just the nodes at each end of the curves. Notice we've got 2 nodes here with this one of the space in the middle, and it actually goes up the hill, veers around in a slight S-bend, and then comes around and straightens up at the top, and we end up with another 2 lines here. So you're not restricted to just one flat level. You can actually have this thing curve and go around to where you want it to go and sort it out. But all you have to do, and this is what we're going to go on with next with this tutorial, is how we make sure that when we make this line, the land actually follows the track, like I've done here. You can see it goes down, right, and the track just goes through and it follows through. So I'll just get us back to where I'm building a line, and I'll show you the process I use to get that to happen. So here's another example here. All right, it's I start here, okay, pop it there, and I move around on an S, okay, and stop there to go to the next straight section. Okay, so it's just a simple matter of putting that in the position and then just clearing the land around it and setting the gravel so that it actually all fits in nicely. Here's an example of a track on a line, basically a 2-to-1, like a 60-degree angle. Right, again, 2 nodes keeping that line straight, and we bend it around in a nice gentle curve to get it to a straight line. So here's an example of a bit more complex of a bend in the system. So again, but the principle's the same. I start here, I'm heading down and around, okay, and I stopped that bend here, and I've locked that bend in by these 4 nodes. Now I've made another one and start going down, and because the angle is fairly steep, I had to control the descent, and this is what these 2 do. So this locks the angle in going down at that rate, and we'll keep that straight until it gets to the next ones. Now this one here was basically to get that curve in, starting from this point, and then sort of get those sort of straight and come around. I don't do it a lot, but to get these in the right spot, I just had to use a couple to very minimally to get the angle in the right spot here. I prefer just to use 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom for each of the tracks. It makes it much easier, but sometimes it just can't happen. So this curve is an example of a long downhill run based on just the 4. So we got 4 here, like keeping the line straight out of the station. It just follows it down long and slow. So if you notice the bridge back here, it's a little bit thicker in certain areas. It's just sort of had to raise the land or the dirt underneath to follow the curve, and this goes down gently, then it curves back, as you see. Again, all you do is you build up the dirt underneath until it's all even, and it settles down at the straight line down here. All right, these 4. Don't worry about the writing, we'll come to that later. All right, so that was just a gentle curve up to that whole hill there, so that works. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set a T-intersection at this sectional line. So I've got 4 points here that keeping the line straight, and if I go down a bit further, I've got another 4 points here keeping the line straight. Well, this just starts into the curve, but these are useful here because I'm going to put a T-intersection coming out and going through this tunnel through here. Now what I'll do, so what I have here is just to get the angle right. These are 80 block diameter lines coming off the rail lines here. So I've got this one here. This will be a right turn into this particular set of tracks, running off this track here. So trains coming this way will have a switch track here and heading around to this line if they need to. Okay, and all I've done is I've just laid it out so that I know where to place the nodes. And this one comes off this one if they want to do a left-hand turn from here, coming around into this node. All right, so both of these will line up here, and I'll put my nodes from my switch to those tracks in here. So let's get on with that, shall we? Oops, let's just delete that. Sometimes if you're too quick with yourself, you'll create nodes and it goes all over the place. You've got to pay attention to not creating nodes when you shouldn't. So the first thing we do to get this switch track happening is we need to select both of these, and we need to now see we've got split middle. We're in disconnect here, so what we need to do is get out of here, come up here, and now we're splitting middle. So all I do, because I've connected both of those, I'll put one in here and it joins it. Okay, so it's still highlighted. So now we can build another one and it'll connect to this line here. So if I put another one in, sort of, let's go to about here somewhere. Notice now that it's actually made like a junction. All right, so we have line 1 here, we have line 2 going off to the left, and we have line 3 going straight ahead. And this is the switch track here. Now we've got to put a command in there, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I just want to show you how to build the tracks now. Okay, so that now, this node here and this node here have locked that set of lines in. All right, and all I have to do now is from here, come over to my track over this side that I laid out, that I figured out from the circles, and place a node. Now what I've got to do is I've got to put down actually no, wait a minute, I'll put down one node here, then I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one node here, and I'll click and hold it to make it 0 at the right point. Right, and that is our line of our rail track from there. I don't use the circle, because see how the line doesn't follow the circle exactly? That's why. So I only use the circle just to get the nodes correct at the ends. Okay, and what I'll do now is I'll go and put another one over this end here. By the way, if you left click in the air, it deselects everything. So I'll do the same here. I'll select that one, I'll shift and select that one, I'll right click and create a track in the middle here. All right, and I'll put another one about here somewhere, like so. And then I'll come over and I'll put another one about, let's say, here. And okay, so we'll leave that there for now. Notice it's straight, but what we need to do is figure out how to join this track in here. And here's how you do it. So I'll deselect that. I'll shift click that one, shift click that one, and about halfway you right click and we'll connect it to this node here. But to do that, we need to make another, what I call a dummy node. So I'll build a node and I'll put it sort of here somewhere. And now what I'll do is I'll just go into, I see it, but I might come out here and show you. A bit dark in there. I'll go to adjust track. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll right click and hold it, and I'll drag it over to the top of this one. And what you'll see is a little bit of red, like a redstone glow coming in here saying I've joined, I know what you want to do. So you just click it, drag it over, and you get close. There we go, see the redstone moving there? And when you put it down, oh, maybe missed it, there it is there. It joins the two and creates a track for you. Okay, and it also lines everything up nicely. So you see this goes around. Now, see how it goes down into the ground? It means we haven't zeroed one of them. So let's click on that, right click, brings it up. Click on this, it straightens it up. All right, let's just straighten all these up. And there you have it. So now you've got a switch track here coming in. You've got two tracks joining into one over here. Now this isn't a switch track because this is the left hand line, so we're only going to go in here. Both of them will go into the same direction, so it won't matter. The other one, however, needs a switch track up here. So let's do it again. Still going a little bit low there, so let's have a look at what's going on this side over here. If you notice the track, the line goes under the ground, it's because something hasn't been set to 0. There we go. And it comes up. Okay. So let's do the same thing again. Alright, so we come in here, we go click that, center click. Oh, hang on, we're in adjust track, we need to be in build track. Still selected it, click it there, we're in the middle, and we go down here, sort of around here somewhere, we click it, just make sure it's centered, and remove. Now what we've got to do here, and this is just an adjustment thing, this line was for one track. What we've got to do is now move the circles so that it goes across to another track. So if we go YG, go to circles, if we go, that's the yellow one. So if we configure that and we go 1, 2, that's good. And then we go to this one, we go 1, 2, that's our new line here. I only moved it sideways, so that should be fine. And now we'll just put our node down here. Notice it's going across. Put our line up here, and it straightens it all out. Now, see how the lines come really close together? That's just a little bit of adjustment. Okay, so nothing to lose too much sleep over. Let's just line these up and straighten them out. And all you got to do is go, all right, well, let's drag this one forward to here and see what happens. All right, still a little bit close. So, and this is where just a little bit of adjustment happens. If I drag this one back, say 1 about here, spread it apart here a little bit more, but I also spread it apart coming around. All right, so it still needs a bit more. So let's take this one here and push it down to there. There. Now it's getting a bit better. You're never going to get it perfectly even, and that's fine. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Switch tracks are a little bit finicky like this. We can bring it a little bit closer if we want, sort of drag it across to there and see how it looks. Now it's looking a bit more even through here. Still a little close here though. So let's take this one and pull it out to there. See where that goes. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's workable there. So it's just a matter of just fiddling around with it. And once you've got it at the right level, it's all good. All right, so now we've got that switch line happen. Now we've got to get one more line set up. And that's in here. So we highlight that one, shift click that one, put a node in the center. Right, then we put another one. I'll sort of go about here somewhere. Let's take it to here. Just drag it off to the side. See how that goes. Then we bring it over here. Put one about, let's go forward a bit. Put one about there. Put one about here for now. Then we click this one, put a node in the center and drag this one over till you see the redstone and let it go, and there's your switch trap. Okay, now it's a little bit out, so let's have a look. So both of these are going down and under. Just got to switch it around a little bit. All right, so that went to center. That's good. Let's see how this looks. Not bad all the way around. Looking pretty good. Hard to see there. It's pretty close, but I think it's, if we were to push this one forward one. Yeah, that looks pretty good there. Okay, so all our lines are set. Okay. We just go around and make sure that everything's in the right spot and it's up high. We've done those. So now what we've got to do is we've just got to set the land to match the line. All right, what I mean by that is if I was to grab one of these and throw another line across here, let me just get rid of these circles now. I don't need them. All right, and if we keep doing this at this height, notice how the lines start to bury themselves. Okay. Now when they get to that, this model here, you'll see it'll actually start to go under the, see it's starting to go under the track now, under the blocks. All right. You've got to keep it above the line. The train will follow the line. Right, it won't follow the block. That's why we have the big mound on the model, this big sloping bit here. Okay, so we keep it above. We keep a bit of a raise above the line there as it goes down, enough to try and hide the bottom edge of the model, basically. So we're looking pretty good there. We could go one more, but I think we're getting a bit close there. So I'm going to just pull it back and leave it at that. All right, now eventually we'll turn that into gravel. So now I've got two layers here. Because we've gone down one here, we're going to put another layer just under here. And this is where Axiom comes into its own. All right. And we keep going. Now the easiest telltale here is, see how that's going into the block? Right, we just keep following this through. All right, now I usually build it up. I usually build up the side so it makes it look nice once I've done all this. And we just keep moving through. As it changes track, right, I'm going to need to put at least, so it's switching in there, that's a space. So I'll put one here. Okay, the space there, so I have one for the gravel, one for the space. One extra gravel, one for the space here. Let me get rid of those. All right, we just keep going. One for the gravel, one for the gravel, one for the space. You'll see what I mean by this in a sec. All right, the line's going over this one now, so an extra two. And this is how you just keep building along until you get to a point where you can change things. Right, all the while it's coming down onto the level. So one there, so another one for the gravel, one for here. I'll just stand by and I'll get this sorted. Okay, now I've got it laid out to basically the valley area. All right, and it's all sort of the levels built up to go along. What I'm going to do now is get a piece of gravel. We'll use R on axiom, so I can just replace the blocks. And what I like to do here is roughly when it starts to turn, so it's along here somewhere, we put another piece of gravel, and as this line hits the block here, you can see it just touching the block, I'll bring it across one. All right, and I'll keep doing that along until the line crosses the next block. So it's still okay there. You can see that. And here it is, just starts to hit the next block, go across one. Okay, and you just keep doing this. It is a bit finicky with the lines when you use R. Okay, and it's just crossing it, so go to the next one. And we just keep filling the gravel. There we go, just cross the next one, so we come across and go to there. Okay, so there. Easy way to tell is you just take the R off, put a line on. If you can't see the edge, right, it's just showing there, and it's showing there. This one, see it just coming through there, that one and that one. Right, and you just work your way up. And it's the same for both sides of the rail too. Now this is so close, you'll see where the split is. Okay, so it's starting to move away, but we've still got the one there. Let's just move this out of the way. One there. So it's just on it, and now we go one here and one here. Right, and we start the gap. Right, and we just keep working our way along. There and there. No, so it's to here. So there. Okay, so that's basically how I bring the gravel surrounding out. Okay, so it goes around like that. And it's following the line. So now the ground is set to the right height for the line. Okay, so when I put these tracks down, it just looks like a normal track going around in a circle or going around a bend. Okay, so I'll just finish off this lot, and I'll pause it here, and I'll get you over to how I do the valleys and the tunnels. In fact, I might make that the next tutorial. So I'll catch you on the next one.